All right, C Talk, we back at you again. I got Divinity. We had to do a part two. We gonna jump right into it. Divinity's felt like she didn't really, articulate herself on certain points, and we really didn't get to talk about the Dave Chapelle. Divinity and I, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna be transparent with you. We've been talking offline for the last hour or so,
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
been really dope. It's been really good conversation. I feel like I'm in a safe place. She's teaching me, you know what I'm saying, different things and whatnot. And I feel like I get to push back too, because I'm a comedian. So we gonna get into that. Because I'm a comedian and I
I'm funny. So.
yeah, nah man, because I protect my craft in a
Mhm.
responsible way. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna get into that, and that stage, that's our safe place. Is how we get off stuff, but we gonna get to the point where there's some intersection where Divinity and I definitely agree on some things. You know what I'm saying? But I want you to start off and talk about what you felt you left off from the last broadcast.
Right. So it was just that in the culture of being trans, a lot of trans women learn a lot about being women from trans women, and these trans women have learned about being women from other trans women, and it breeds a there's also a culture of like ballroom competition, and all of these things combined create this infusion of like this toxic femininity where trans women are really struggling and trying to be uber feminine, um, which is just really uh, destructive after a while. um, I don't fall into that largely because coming up, I had a mom and four sisters who were really amazing and rooting my womanhood and my personality and who I am and just in my being as opposed to in what I'm doing or what I'm exuding or exhibiting or wearing or how my hair is or whatever the case may be. A lot of those things are very secondary in my thought process. Whereas with a lot of trans women, it's forefront, front and center, and it's all they think about. Um, Sometimes for survival reasons, it's a very important thing, and other times it's just sad. It just you. I've talked to some girls and it's been like, "Wow, this is it. That's all we're talking about. Not much more going on behind the curtain." Okay. Um, but uh, it's been my mission to utilize that privilege to help them, to help other girls grow, help other girls who want to grow, because I can't force people. Some people are just like, "Girl, no, fuck you. I'm happy being toxic." Uh,
Hold on a second. You said something, and I want to bring that up on the screen real quick. You said toxic femininity. What
yes.
is toxic femininity? Because I see that. I feel like people, if you can exhibit toxic masculinity, I feel like you can exhibit toxic femininity also. But I
Yeah.
think I see it differently than you, and I think that we share some thoughts on it though. Like, what do you see as toxic femininity?
So for me, I believe I'm a hermetic practitioner. So the hermetic law of gender teaches us that all things in life carry both masculine and feminine energy. And so
Yep.
when you delve too much into either one of them, it does become very toxic on the spirit, on the being. There has to be masculine and feminine elements in us that we all live in at times, that we all, you know, embody. A lot of cis women, or just women in general, when they are with their man or their partner, they become a bit more masculine,
Hmm.
particularly in the presence of other competing women. Um, you know, like if another girl is like flirting with her man, she'll get very aggressive and very masculine and very territorial about what is hers. Um, Quite the contrary, a lot of men get very feminine in their energy with the woman that they love. I think a very good example of this dynamic would be the actor Jason Momoa, who, you know, if you watch interviews with him, when he's talking to women, he gets very soft and sweet and cuddly and he's all cutesy and blah, blah, blah. And when he's talking to a man, like, he gets like very aggressive and manly and masculine. He flows through the spectrum of the masculine and feminine energy, but he never embodies femininity. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah. So what's the toxic though? What's the toxic
so the
feminine?
toxic is when you live there, when that is your only, like when you're like, I'm going down the femininity spectrum and it's only one way.
Yeah.
There is nothing else the other way, and anything the other way becomes bad, a bad thing.
So they start
in,
bashing anything that's masculine.
oh, definitely. So
Mhm.
in the trans community, not as much anymore. I think a lot of these white people are limiting a lot of language, but it has been a part of the culture. You know, reading is what we do. Like, that's not just trans; it's the LGBT community. Like, you watch RuPaul's Drag Race; they read each other. But in reading, you know, that's how we would critique each other. That's how we tell each other, girl, you know, you're too small, girl, you ain't got no ass, girl, like you got a low key beard, honey. What are you doing today? Like, um, this is how we read. Like,
You said you got a beard.
you got
See,
a low
come
key
on,
beard,
man.
girl. Like, I see
See,
your
see,
butt.
Divinity. See, what you're doing is not fair. See, I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh at certain stuff.
Laugh, let it out.
I'm
It's funny.
not.
I'm funny.
But see, no, see, this is the problem that Dave got into.
It's not, because Dave is not an ally of trans women. If
All right,
Dave
break
was
it
an
down.
ally,
Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
okay,
Let's go ahead and get into it.
let's go. So, when you are telling a joke from the position of being somebody turf, that's not okay. When you are telling a joke from being an ally, that is okay. That's, hey, you know, I know this person. For example, if I'm telling a joke about Jewish people and I first align myself with the Nazis, whatever joke I tell after that will have the impact of who I just aligned myself with. And thus, I'm no longer just ha ha telling a joke. It's all funny because it now has a greater context to it. And that's what Dave was very ignorant about in his joke. And then to make things worse, he credits someone who, a white trans person, as the this is the reason that my joke is okay because this person said it was. But the white trans person, we don't know how this person feels about trans people. We don't know who they are. What are their connections to the
Well, he
community?
went into
We
it.
know
He went
nothing
into it.
about them.
No, he went into it. I watched the special, I think twice, and through the story, he was very, very clear that the relationship that Daphne had with the rest of the trans community was not good
It
because.
couldn't have been good.
But
That's
listen,
the point.
but listen.
It could not have been
Hold
good.
on, Divinity. Hold on, because Divinity said that. I mean that not Divinity. Sorry, pardon self. Daphne said that Dave was an ally, and then she got drugged on Twitter,
And
and
twice.
then
Okay,
ended
hold
up.
on.
Okay, hold on. Turn off Seed Talk right now. Spoiler if you haven't watched it. Let me give you a second. Spoiler alert. Then Daphne kills herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that becomes a part of the comic routine too, is that there's that irony that comes out of that satire of we talk about how Dave is bashing trans people and anti-trans and transphobic, but then it was the trans community that contributed to a lot of the harassment and bullying that Daphne had. And this is
So,
something, no, this is, wait, hold on. I'm just saying
okay, no, I hear
this
you.
is his thesis. I'm just explaining
No,
this
I hear
thesis
you. I do.
as
I
a
do.
comic, you know? And then so that becomes a part of his resolution. And at the end, he said, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm no longer going to make jokes about the LGBTQIA community. He didn't put the IA in there though. Um, unless I'm laughing with you instead of laughing at you. But that was his thesis.
But who wants to laugh with him right now? Who
A
wants
lot of
to
people.
join in the LGBT?
Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh,
Wait,
I
wait,
was
wait, 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 wait. No, no. I think people like Flame Monroe. Yes. Because Flame was on CNN. I think that's right. Flame was on CNN saying, I mean, but that's another comedian, though. I mean, we're kind of like a fraternity or a sorority, pick which one you want. We're a circle.
yeah.
Like, this is what we do. Like, the only offensive thing that you can do in our circle is not be funny. Comedians laugh at some pretty twisted stuff.
Okay.
And
Some
that's always
popcorn.
been his humor. That's always been Dave's humor.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable. He tickles you. You know, when you were little, when they used to tickle you, that wasn't always consensual, you laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying the act wasn't consensual. I'm not trying to be weird or anything and take this some other place. But when someone tickled you and you laughed, that laugh wasn't consensual. You didn't
Right.
really want to laugh. That's why you're like, stop, stop, stop. That's how you feel when Dave starts telling a joke. When he starts telling jokes, I mean, even back with the Dave Chapelle show, I'm like, stop, stop, bro, stop, stop, because I'm about to laugh at something that I know I have no business laughing at. The
Right.
R. Kelly piss on you, the blind black man who was a Ku Klux Klan member. He was making fun of drug addicted people with Tyrone Biggums. He has made a career of telling uncomfortable jokes about marginalized black people.
Mm-hmm. And but does he align himself with the Klan before telling those jokes? Does he align himself with the Proud Boys? Does he say I'm a Proud Boy and this is how I feel about these marginalized black people?
No.
Okay, so that's the difference.
But no, but Divinity, I can't let you get away with this. We talked about this earlier. You are assigning rules and a standard and a rubric to an art form that doesn't play by those rules.
Mm-hmm.
We don't play by those rules. You can be as clumsy as all get out as long as it's funny.
Right, and he wasn't funny.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And I'm not being facetious. I think there are a lot of trans jokes. I tell a lot of trans jokes. I know a lot
Hmm.
of trans people though.
Hmm.
So my circles breed trans jokes. My circles, my community is it just telling the stories of what we do, of what happens. You find the jokes. The jokes come
I
to
love
you.
it.
They're
I love
there.
that
But
because that's when you truly become human, when you find humor in your experience.
when you're talking about what you don't know about, when you're talking and just throwing things out there that you've heard and what you think in a community into a zeitgeist that is already riddled with transphobia and prejudice.
Hmm.
What you do, while it's just jokes, yeah, I will give you that.
No,
It's
nothing.
just
Wait,
jokes.
I'm gonna push back
Great.
on that. Nothing is just a joke, though. I'm gonna push
Well,
back on that.
while you're a comedian doing your
Hmm.
job, I will give you that. The reverb from that is the reverberation from that is everybody thinking they're a comedian then. Everybody then feels entitled to make these same jokes. And these jokes get people killed. These jokes, these jokes soften the impact of everyday transphobia. Things that people do that maybe are not intended to be transphobic, are not intended to cause violence or injury, but ultimately end up doing so. So a lot of women will do this where they'll cis women will come up to a man who is with a trans woman and say, well, you know that's a man, right? I don't want to be messy. I'm just saying, you know that's a man, right? That that sentence has gotten so many girls killed. Period. Like, and that is always it's always a joke. That's the reason that they turn around and kill him because the man is now embarrassed because he's the punchline now. Now I'm out with the tranny. Now I'm out. Don't say tranny. Don't. Don't nobody do
Yeah, I
that.
already know not to say that.
But to make my point, that's what they say. Well, now I'm the one out with the tranny. Now I'm this. Now I'm that. And
That's gonna happen. But Divinity, we talked about this earlier. That's gonna happen whether a comedian makes a joke about the trans experience or
no,
a
because the
transphobic
culture
joke,
can
no matter
change.
what.
But if the culture is being held in place and being held hostage and not being elevated by comedy can definitely elevate where we are. And he's not doing that. You're not elevating the culture.
I
You're
think that anybody who comes and watch, I think there's a small majority of people. I'm not majority, sorry, small majority. I think that's an oxymoron. Sorry. I think there's a small group of people that go into a Dave Chappelle show who um were not transphobic, and then they listen to his jokes, and then all of a sudden, now they're transphobic. I think that's a small population of people, and I actually don't think that that even happens.
I did I say that?
Kinda, you did. You aligned his jokes with
No, I
creating
didn't
an
say he did it.
atmosphere and a climate that normalizes certain activities that make it possible for trans people to be killed.
No, I don't think that that's what
Okay.
happened.
I
I think
may have
that his
misunderstood
jokes
you.
are just making it okay. It makes it okay. It's like when you hear it on stage, then you want to go tell the. When I was little and I would hear Bernie Mac's joke about milk and cookies, I'd go to school and tell a joke about milk and cookies because it was funny.
I think
Not.
that's a go
Hmm.
ahead. We talked about this earlier. That's a social etiquette thing. If you
Right.
go to a comedy show and you're repeating something that you heard from a clumsy comedian that's going to be saying whatever because they're trying to make you laugh, you know what
Right.
I mean? And they're going to be saying a whole bunch of stuff whether they don't care of the authenticity of it or the accuracy or if it's true or not to make you laugh. If you leave that comedy
But then
show
you're
and
not a good comic
if
because
you repeat
if
that
you were a
though,
good
if you
comic,
repeat
your art would be making people laugh. And so if your
right,
art is making people laugh,
and
then you
Dave makes a
shouldn't
lot of
need to
people laugh.
stoop to the lowest form of comedy. You should be able to elevate the conversation into something funny. Margaret Cho does this. But
He
Margaret
definitely
Cho isn't
hold on,
communicating
Divinity,
with the
hold
people that she
on,
constantly
hold
makes
on,
jokes about.
Divinity. The fact that we're talking about this at this level and people are being educated as we speak because of that stand-up special,
Hmm.
he's elevating. He's definitely elevating. He's definitely me as a person who is an educator and be like, that's not true, Dave. That's not true. No, that's not true.
And those conversations are in the minority because the majority of the conversations are about how the LGBT community is trying to cancel Dave now. We can't let that happen. The protected communities, the alphabet communities, they call us all these adjectives to to say it's us or them. It's us versus them. And we choose Dave.
Hmm.
And as part of us and them, I'm fucking offended. How dare
Yeah,
you?
I think, and I think that comedians, their love language is humor,
Hmm.
and their learning language is also humor too. So when a comedian tells you that they don't know something, they make fun of it,
Hmm.
and they're really making fun of themselves. It is some sneaky thinly veiled self-deprecation because he's telling you how ignorant and uneducated he is, and he's going to tell a joke so you can say, "Nah, you know that's not true. Let me sit you down and let me teach you." And that's what Dave has been doing. And my thing is this: we thought it was really funny when he was doing so many jokes about marginalized black people. We laughed at it when he was talking and making jokes about the survivors of R. Kelly, Piss on you know, ableist jokes. We know what he does, drug addicted people with Tyrone Biggums. That was funny. People laughed and we got it. And we were like, that's not true. Not all, you know what I'm saying, drug addicted people act like Tyrone Biggums. Why is it? Come on, man. That's not really what happened with R. Kelly in the situation. You really shouldn't be making fun of that. No, we just laughed. And we were like, Dave Chappelle's a genius. The Chappelle show's a genius. And then and white people said it too. You're a genius. For a matter of fact, we want to give you
Stole a
$50
lot of
million.
money out of him, too.
Yeah, we want to give you $50 million. And that's when he said, hold on a second. I feel like you're laughing at me and not with me. I'm gonna I'm out. I'm gonna go to Africa. Da 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 da. So Sticks and Stones and the closer was his way, his thesis statement of, okay, let me make fun of the LGBTQIA community like I've been making fun of disenfranchised, marginalized black people for so many years, and y'all want to pay me, and let me see what the reaction and the response is. Because I'm a comedian. I'm trying to see something. I'm trying to learn something, and I do it through jokes.
Right. So the issue with that is that you're not just picking on marginalized Black people when you come for the LGBT community. The marginalized Black people started the LGBT, particularly marginalized Black trans women started the LGBT community. That's very true. But we are composed of the marginalized people of every demographic: Asians, uh, Mexicans, Latinos, white people. All of these people composite all of these composite people compose our community.
Mhm.
And so him telling a joke that offends the trans community offends the trans community, the Black trans community, the white trans community, all of the above. Then you have the people who are the allies of us, the other LGBT people who are the allies, and then the allies of those allies, the people who love trans people, the people who have trans people in their family. All of these people are collectively offended. All of these people, this is the reason why he's not getting it. You are, and then when Black people, particularly Black men, rush to defend this and say, we're backing Dave and the LGBT community just wants to cancel him and fuck them. And we're going to, when they minimize all of this, what they're doing is cutting off allies. You're cutting off potential allies. You're cutting off people who could help you get to where you want to be in life. But I don't actually understand why. I actually have no understanding as to why this happens in this community. But it's really off-putting because it's like this community, as strong and powerful as it is, was begun by the people that you cast out. And had you not cast us out, the work and effort that we put into this community, we would have put into the Black community instead.
And that is the point. I think that's the most salient point that is being made. And I think that's the greatest intersection that you and I share, is that he never aligns himself with Black LGBTQIA people.
Mm-mm.
And I had a problem personally that the prop for his joke, the series of jokes, was a white transgender woman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like that big of a problem. Only a problem like on a nerdy like joke math thing, like as
Mhm.
another comedian. And I can't mess with Dave. Dave's a better comedian than me. So who am I to really talk about his joke math? But I
I've
was
laughed
like,
on the phone with you more than I laughed at your special, so I don't know
I would
if that's
align
accurate or
myself.
not. But
I would align myself with black LGBTQIA, you know what I'm saying, people. You know what I'm
and
saying?
when you have them in community with you,
Yeah,
then the jokes that you can tell will
exactly.
be far more extensive than anything that he can cook up out of transphobia, because the jokes that he's telling are all the same. They are all the same punchline. Oh, she's got a dick. Oh, she doesn't have, or she's got, a man-made vagina. Oh, like it's all the same punchline. When the joke roots in transphobia, it's about the trans person's genitals. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, that's really absurd. Go off. It's like I was watching this white woman. It's really interesting, and I think she was like British or something. She's like, I think all women should have a penis, an imaginary penis in their mind. And the crowd is like laughing. They're like going along with it. She's like, I do. I have a penis. And it's a big black one too. And it stands up like this. The crowd goes fucking wild. I don't personally find this joke too funny. Why? I can't particularly articulate. But it just doesn't hit my ear and make
Yeah,
me
but it
fall
wasn't
off.
funnier than you. Yeah, that's fair.
Right. And
Hmm.
if black men had came in and articulated that they felt offended by that and been able to articulate why they felt offended by that, it might have made me understand why I didn't like the joke. Do you understand where I'm going with this?
No, I mean I
So,
get it, man. I just think that there needs to be boundaries set from that safe place of a stage to
mhm.
tell jokes, just like we create safe places for people to do theater, movies, film, like, and
And
they
those
do the
are
same.
offensive AF too.
They
First
they
of
do
all,
the
in
same. They
film
do the
and
same thing
movies,
with hip
trans
hop.
women have only been playing ourselves in film and movies for the last, what,
Yeah,
maybe 2 years.
yeah, I give you that.
Before that, it was
Mhm.
always some man in
No, I
prosthetics
I
or
agree with
a
that.
woman that they grossly masculinize to make. And it's always the joke is always, oh yeah, like, she's gonna be ugly, she's gonna be funny looking, she's gonna be masculine in some way. The
Hmm.
last few years, we've seen trans women being able to play themselves, and I thought that was okay. That wasn't the benchmarker that I wanted to see. The
We saw
benchmarker
that
I
with
wanted to
Orange
see,
Is the New Black. We saw that with Orange Is the New Black. We saw that. Mhm.
we saw that with Pose, with Tangerine. There's been a few things, but the benchmarker that I've been waiting for is seeing a trans woman just play a woman. Like, I don't really get excited seeing a trans woman play a trans woman, and I didn't watch Pose because Pose deals with a lot of the
I think they
trauma
no, they did that
of.
in uh Queen and Slim.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, one of the women when they were on their getaway, one of the women, it was just it was this woman, but if you look at the credits, it was a trans woman.
Well, go off. I'm here
Hmm.
for it.
Hmm.
Um, but oh god, what was I saying?
Oh, my bad. Sorry. I have a
I forgot.
sorry.
It's
I have a
fine.
tendency to do that.
Um,
But listen, I wanted to talk about something else though, real quick.
mhm.
Flame Monroe. But
Yes.
you don't like Flame Monroe either.
No.
Like, so it's so hard to know. Like, we talked about this. It's so like if we were together and we were hanging out, and someone starts telling trans jokes, I'll I'll be like, we good, or is that funny? Is it okay to laugh at that? Because I'm laughing inside, but I want to make sure we good because I know this might not be a safe, protected place for you.
Mhm.
This ain't me watching Netflix. This ain't what me watching Flame and Raw. But I feel that way with Flame and Raw. I think a lot of her comedy is hilarious.
So I think the reason that people often compare, particularly in the LGBT community, and I don't like it when they do it, when they compare the being discriminated against for being LGBT to being discriminated against for being Black.
Yeah,
Particularly
I don't like the
because
comparison either.
I don't like it because as I've been discriminated for both, it's a very different experience in that
Hmm.
discrimination. However, the reason that I think it keeps coming up is because Black people are discriminated against and then turn around and enact the exact same discrimination on trans people, on queer people.
Hmm.
And it's exactly the same. Like the
Hmm.
language is exactly the same. The prejudices are exactly the same. The I just don't want to see it. I like the trying to explain away the hatred, the trying to make their hatred okay and not as bad as the other person's hatred. And it's a thing that I can never compute. I can never really get into the groove of it because queer people who are Black deal with racism in the LGBT community. There are
Absolutely.
LGBT white people who run amok talking about their proud boys and blah blah blah. I met a white trans woman who told me she was a proud boy. I said, "Well, sir, I don't know." Like,
But how does that fit into Flame Monroe being offensive? Why you don't?
so Flame, you remember how I said the jokes that are told from the stage are all rooted in the same thing. They're all rooted in transphobia. The whole punchline, the shtick is always transphobia. It's always she got a dick. That's Flame. Every joke. Every joke. Just and then also I think there's an obscenity to Flame that I am not comfortable with, that rubs me very wrong. There's like a joke where Flame was talking about molesting the dead body of this Black kid who got killed while she was working in a funeral home. And
Yeah, I've never heard that joke.
I'll
Sorry.
tell it to you. I
That,
remember it. So
oh,
the joke
dang
goes.
it.
So I used
See,
to
this
work
is
in
an
a funeral.
uncomfortable. See, this is what I'm talking about. Humor. This is an uncomfortable laugh. Just
No, you can laugh. It's a funny joke, but it just
I feel like.
she worked in a funeral home. In the funeral home, they would bring in bodies all the time. She said they brought in the body of Daquan Johnson, and baby, Daquan Johnson should have never died because he was a blessed man, let me tell you. And I didn't know. I didn't know. Nobody told me that when you die, everything get hard. Everything get hard. Everything get
See,
hard.
you trying to be funny though. See, you try.
No, that's the joke. That's what
I
Flame
know,
said.
but you imitating Flame. You're trying to be funny. See,
I just
you need to
imitated
stop.
what she did.
Divinity, stop. You know what
I
you're
just did
doing.
what she did. You
All
can
right.
look at it. I think it might be on there. Anyway, through the joke, she then insults Sherry Shepherd, who was at the time hosting Comic View, and she says Sherry Shepherd looks like Wesley Snipes, which she does, but she has to say that cruel shit. She didn't have to say that. And she knew that she didn't have to say that shit.
See,
So
this is
when
what I'm
she
talking
gets
about, man. See,
so when she gets off
you
the
are
stage,
not right for this, man.
when she gets off the stage, this is where I am now upset because now Sherry is going to retort. And Sherry, what I can say about Sherry is when she came out, she said, I'm not going to be disagreeable. Give her a round of applause. And everybody clapped. And then she went in and dragged Flame for filth. And everything she said about Flame was 100% true. Well, but then she also does kind of throw in a little transphobia in there with it. But it's like, how can I be mad at her when you came at her first at her club? Like, and so anyway, but Flame.
But you keep saying, she threw in transphobia. She threw in transphobia. But
She did.
that's the uncomfortable truth. Divinity
Oh
is.
no! It 100% is. I'm not going to say
That's
that
the
it's not.
uncomfortable
I'm
truth
just
is
saying
that
we have to.
transphobia and hurt in general, whether
Mhm.
we're talking about rape survivors, whether we're talking about people being drug addicted, whether we talking about even the death of black people, the true uncomfortable truth is hurt is funny, and it's a pathway to healing. If you're making if we sit here and we go through
Hmm.
jokes in the trans experience that are funny, you saying logic, let me teach you something real quick. Okay,
Hmm.
bro, this is what you can laugh at when it comes to trans people. There's going to be someone in the trans community that's going to be triggered and it's going to be hurt, but we're laughing about it. But that's how humor works.
I think if you're prepared to not have allies, then you laugh at what you want to laugh at.
Oh, I think that's that's the intersection that we really need to land on, and that needs to be rooted in our community. Is that
Because I'm
you
not
need to
telling you
allow.
you can't tell trans jokes. I'm not saying
Oh,
that at
I'm not
all.
going.
What I'm
No,
saying is if you're going to tell them from a place of love. Tell them from a place of I'm telling a story about my trans friend that I know and they're funny and this and that. Like
exactly.
that's a different type of joke that I can sit there and vibe with. But when you turn around, as Dave did, or as any comic would, and and tell jokes that are already rooted in transphobia, and then ally yourself with groups that are anti-trans, you don't get to then say, "Oh, but my trans friend is like tells me that that's okay," and then he tries to shame the trans community because they gathered Miss whatever her name was together. Look, I said myself when that special came out and he was like talking about Daphne, that's her name. We were talking about Daphne the first time. This was years ago. I made a status and I said, whoever would sit in the front row of a Dave Chapelle show while he's being transphobic and laugh louder than everybody else there, and then minimize the transphobia coming from his mouth to make him okay with saying more transphobia, obviously hates themselves. Like this person cannot love themselves. That was years ago I said that. Look where we are today. But
Okay, hold on.
you're saying that we did something to her. No, and this is what the Black community has to understand. The trans community, the queer community, we don't have to like people who don't like us. We don't have to be kind and nice to people or support the businesses of people who don't support us or who don't like us, who don't think that we should exist or who don't want to see our lifestyles anywhere. That's fine. You can feel how you want to feel, but you don't get to tell us then that we have to then support you or that we have to then
No,
watch
no,
your
no, no,
special or
no.
that we
I'm not
have to
saying that.
then
No.
be okay with you. The
Mm-hmm.
issue comes when you think like because you have freedom of speech, you are then free of consequences. No, there are
Mm-hmm.
consequences for what you say. And particularly him utilizing the death of Daphne to say that the trans community picked on her. No, the trans community corrected her and fuck her entirely. I don't give a fuck about Daphne. Daphne can kiss my motherfucking ass. And I did not want to cuss today. But the fact that somebody would come and say, oh, well, they did this and they bullied her and this and that. She sanctioned bullying on our community. She sanctioned language that we have been trying to stop and made it okay. This is laughter. It's funny. Oh, I needed this laugh. I don't know what this white trans person was going through this day in their world of privilege that they needed transphobia to just spark a guffaw for them. But I'm not here for it.
Yeah, I'll say again for the record, I did not like the fact that the resolution was, spoiler alert, that he aligned himself with a white trans woman. You know what I'm saying? But again, I will
And
say
then the
this.
transphobia that has sparked from the performance. The people who are now dismissing, minimizing, and shutting down the queer people's concerns to say, oh, well, they're just trying to cancel Dave. They're just trying to, they're just
Yeah,
mad.
those
They're
people
just
were
this,
already
they're
around
that.
when they were. Those people were already around with the baby. Those people.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he came with the special or not. Those people are already going to exist. You know, comedy doesn't have the same
But he
rules in the.
emboldens them. He gives them material.
those people are going to go through that comedy special, and they're going to cherry pick and pick and choose what they want to take away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to be like you and I and, break it down, what I'm saying, how we're breaking it down. And,
No, not at all.
but doesn't Dave, why doesn't Dave get the opportunity to explain his humor if he so chooses? It's like, why doesn't he
Where
get
has
to,
he been? Who
what's
was
up?
stopping him?
Well, because the reason why I say that is because there's assumptions that he feels a certain way that he does when he's telling jokes. This
Baby,
is how
when you say I'm turf, that is not an assumption. That is you telling me who you are and me
that's a
believing it.
joke.
That
Divinity,
is
that's
you
not
telling
fair.
me who
That's not
you
a
are
joke.
and
That's
me
a
believing it.
joke.
And I believe that joke.
Yeah, yeah. And
Y'all believe the joke about Valerie Jarrett looking like the person on the monkey from the Planet of the Apes, and y'all believe Roseanne was a racist. Immediately. That was what we all then knew. That she's a racist now. The
I
joke
didn't
can't go
know
on. We
that
got to
that's not what
stop
I
it
did.
now.
Not that's not what I did as a comedian.
Oh, I didn't think
I
she was racist at all. I thought she was quite funny. And
I
I
didn't
thought Valerie
I
Jarrett
don't
did
know.
like
I
that
don't
character.
First of all,
But
I don't know if Roseanne was telling a joke when she
she
said what she
was. She
said.
said she was.
Okay, okay. All right, cool. All right. Thanks for
I,
clearing that
I,
up for me. I would have to have a conversation with her outside of that joke because I do see. Here's the deal. I say this: when you go to a comedy show and you start using jokes as a predictor of future behavior, that's all wrong. When you start to listen to jokes and start to diagnose people's characters and diagnose people's phobia, that's all wrong. It's like going to a boxing match, you know what I'm saying, and seeing a boxer just totally annihilate the competitor, beat the crap out of them, and then walk away and be like, the boxer that won the night, very violent person, very violent. How he assaulted the other person. Like, you went to a boxing match.
they're so
You know what I'm saying?
violent, though.
That's not fair. You know what I'm trying to say.
He
Don't
knows
even
that
do
he's
that.
so
Don't
violent.
do that. When he gets out of the ring, you don't be like, oh my God, watch out. He'll knock you out. He'll be like, no, I'm just at the club having a drink. I was fighting at
No,
the
I saw
time.
him fighting that dude. Y'all.
But
Might want to guard your
but
pearls.
here's the deal. Here's the deal. And I'm not going to just argue just to argue.
No.
I will push back. I think the defining factor for Dave is when Dave tells his jokes. I think he's trying to learn. I think he doesn't have it figured out, but the way that he tries um to express that is that he tells jokes. Now here's the difference in Dave and other people who tell jokes. Dave tells the joke like he's right.
Mhm. He wants to be
And
right.
that is the difference in his joke math that may be different than
Mhm.
me. If I would tell the same joke and I'd be like, but I don't know that I'm right or not. I'm ignorant. I don't know. Like we talked about this earlier.
Mhm.
I wouldn't even feel comfortable making any jokes about the trans experience because I know it might trigger somebody.
Mhm.
However, I will express with all, transparency. I feel like we are better when we get to the point when we can all make fun of each other. But
Right.
it's not safe to do that now. And if I had trans friends, I have some, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to, hang my hat on that or nothing. But I'm just saying I don't feel comfortable enough, what I'm saying, playing around on that, literally playing around with jokes in that arena when I'm trying to learn about it. And me learning about it will be incredibly funny,
Mhm.
but I'd rather do it on Seed
That's
Talk.
the thing. Like when you're learning,
I'd rather do it
that's
on
where the
Seed Talk
that's
than
where
on the
the jokes
stage.
come. Here's a joke. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story. This is what I mean when I say when you know trans people, when you experience trans people, funny shit happens. We are funny people. Our body parts are removable sometimes. Like you gotta understand. It's a thing. Like so. Okay, I was in the circus. It was a thing. Okay. Anyway,
You were in a circus?
Yes, I did the trapeze, and the aerial hoop was my personal apparatus.
Okay, okay, okay,
And the tissue that you roll the cloth that you roll yourself up in. I did that.
okay. Was this before you transitioned?
No, no,
Oh,
this is my
okay,
middle,
got you,
like
got you, got you.
in the middle of the very beginning. And so at this time I had boobs, but they were not very big. They were very small, and I wore these silicone inserts that kind of look like chicken cutlets, and I would put them in my bra. But they were very lifelike the way that they moved, because my boobs were a little fleshy, so like there was just like it was like suction, and give it would give the illusion, and I was here for it.
Got you.
So uh, I was excited because I'm very competitive, and I it's my Capricorn nature. I just like to win, and I like to be the best. And so I like the lady, she's like super impressed with everything that I do. She's like, "Oh my god, you point your toes." I was like, "Yeah, I used to dance. Like that's like a thing. It's like a muscle memory thing. You point your feet. Like it's a thing." But she's super impressed with this because nobody else does it. They all have like caveman feet, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm special." So she's like, she's giving us all of these like routines to do on the different apparatuses. And by this time, I knew the area hoop was going to be my apparatus because I had did this whole performance in it that was like sickening AF. Um, but we were doing the trapeze this day. So she's like, "I want you to do this and then go upside down and then come back up and then go right side over and then go this side and then come back over and then land like this." So the first person goes and they suck. Like he just was not very good. And then the next person went and he completed the task. And I was like, here I go. So I'm up there. I hit it this way. Bam. Hit it that way. Bam. Hit it this way. Bam. Go upside down. Bam. And my titty goes bam. And falls to the floor. You could hear a rat piss on cotton in that gymnasium because nobody knew if it was appropriate to laugh.
I guarantee you was not laughing, Divinity, when that happened. No, you was not laughing. Cut it out. You was not laughing.
That was the loudest laugh.
Oh, really? Okay. But it was laughing
was
because it was uncomfortable though.
Huh?
Weren't you laughing because it was uncomfortable?
It's not because it's funny. I was
It was a little bit. It wasn't embarrassing.
Shirt and like landed. It literally hit my face, smack, and it hit the ground, smack. And because it was a gymnasium that was pretty empty, it was, the acoustics were going.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so I slip off of the trapeze and grab my titty. So
You weren't embarrassed?
not really. I maybe a little. I think not.
Yeah.
It wasn't I'm not that type of person. I don't take myself that seriously where it's like, or another one. I was in a writing group, and we were having like this free reading time or whatever, and sitting next to this guy that I had this huge crush on. Like I loved me some him, and I was wearing this really bad wig that I hated. I hated the wig, but it was the only one that I had at the time with me, and he was just like this really cool little Virgo, like chilling, reading his stupid little sports book about nothing. And I was like leaning back in this chair. It's a little rocking chair, and I'm feeling cute and comfortable. My outfit is right. I'm sitting here looking sexy. So I'm like, I could be reading right now, but I'm digging the vibe. It's calm in here. It's quiet. There's a breeze. Feels good. I hear a sound that goes whoosh. Cool. The breeze is picking up. I'm feeling a lot of breeze that I wasn't feeling before. Particularly on the back of the neck. Just a lot of air. And I reach up and ain't no hair, and a head full of cornrows. And I look behind me, and my wig is laid out on the floor. I thought it was an animal at first. I said, "Oh my God, wait a minute!" And I can't react because everybody is still looking at their book. Like nobody has noticed. Nobody heard the whoosh. So I had a hood on my jacket, and I threw my hood up and turned around and grabbed the wig real fast and threw it in my bag and threw it in my shirt and booked it out the door. And everybody was like, "What's wrong with her? Why did you do that? What happened? Did you see what happened?" Nobody. So they eventually come out looking for me. And I'm like, I ran around the corner to this other building. And I'm in the doorway trying to fix my wig on my head. And they come around there, girl, what? I can't even talk. I'm laughing so hard, I can't even talk to tell them what just happened to me, what I just experienced. And but it's again one of those, I take myself that seriously. Like I didn't want to be seen like that, but stuff like that happens to trans women all the time.
But see, I wouldn't even feel comfortable telling a joke like that.
Why?
Nah, I
Another
wouldn't.
one. I
I
was
would
at
be,
the
I
other
would be,
store.
I would be scared that someone would think that I didn't like, trans people, or they would think that it was a predictor of future behavior that I would condone, someone hurting, trans people, or that I wouldn't protect them or defend them, what I'm saying, for being trans, or that I'm normalizing a climate that is violent towards, trans people, what I'm saying. I wouldn't feel
This is gonna be my last one. So I went to the store with my best friend. She's
okay.
trans too. And she and I have a lot in common, but we're also like polar opposites. And she's kind of got, a belly. And there's no shame. A lot of people out there got bellies. A lot of
Nah,
people.
you said kinda. Kinda means she does have one.
A lot of people got bellies. So
Yep, I
she got a
got one.
belly. And ain't no wrong with that. So we're
Hmm.
in the store shopping, minding our business, and a couple guys, they're black guys, come into the store, and your apprehension, your anxiety immediately kind of goes up, not because you feel like they're a danger, but when you're trans and you're black people tend to recognize features that will clock you to them and
Mm,
faster than maybe a white person who
really?
would.
Hmm.
Yeah, like so if I'm around white people, like um n- white people kind of think all black women look like men, so they don't really, you know, that's why that's why they go off about Michelle Obama and Serena
Yeah,
Williams,
yeah, I've noticed
blah
that.
blah
That's a
blah.
good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah,
But
I
black
see that.
people, their eyes, but that happens with every demographic. So I have a
Gotcha.
Mexican homegirl who don't like going to the Mexican club because she knows they will gather her right up, and they're like, "Oop, nope, not that one, not that one." But that's
Mhm.
neither here nor
So
there.
what happened? Your
So,
friend had a little belly, kind of a belly.
and the black men walk into the store. So she's like looking through this rack of clothing, and this black man sees her, and he's like, "Oh, I want to talk to you." And so my friend is so funny to me because when men interact with her, her energy changes and the way she talks and the way like she instantly moves into this more feminine space. And it's funny because she kind of just has a very masculine energy, more or less. Not she's not masculine, but her energy often reads masculine. And so, but when she's like being feminine for a man, it's always funny to watch. It's always cute to me. Um, the guy is like talking to her. He's really feeling her, and I can tell she's uncomfortable because she hasn't told him that she's trans, and he's being very flirty publicly, and she's just trying not to upset him and also to like shop. So dude is like, let me get your number, let me holler at you. And I'm like, girl, come on. Like, I'm ready to go. This nigga ain't about shit. Like, girl, you know this. And so she's just like, well, the thing is, and she kind of turns away from, no, she said, well, I have something to tell you. And he says, oh, what's up? And so she turns away from the, the clothing rack. And she goes, well, the thing is, and he said, oh, shit. And I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Here we go. He's about to do it. And we're all going to be embarrassed in this store. He goes, oh, shit. You're pregnant?
That was funny. That was a good one. That was good. That was good. That was a good one.
I cried laughing out of that story.
That's a mic drop moment right there.
She was just like, yeah, that's it. I gotta go.
So I want to, we're going to have a part 3. This is part 2. Cause I can't get enough of just like, just learning and being educated and having these conversations in a safe place. And I really appreciate, you being patient, you know what I'm saying? Because that's not always how we envision these conversations with people in the trans community. We think like, oh my God, I got to watch what I say. And I think that we're into
if you do that, you'll never learn. If you sit there and if you're biting your tongue and chewing your words, like you're never going to get your questions answered. And I think that when we sit here and I don't understand it. I don't understand why people choose to be angry, because like when I've encountered white trans people who have made up language that I don't understand and I need them to explain it to me, that happens to me in this community. There are times where I'm like, bitch, what? I've been called TERF. I've been told that I'm gatekeeping. I've been told all sorts of things by white women who couldn't outspeak me, who couldn't use their words to outtalk me. All of a sudden, then I'm transphobic. And it's like, when you cry wolf, eventually the cry loses its power. Like people stop paying attention to it. When everything becomes transphobic, then why would people even want to talk about you? Why would people even want to engage to learn anything about you?
That's a very good point, because I feel the same way when people say that's racist, that's sexist, that's misogynistic, that's misogynoir. And it's like, let's get away from, I'm not saying it's not those things, but let's get away from just the titles and let's just pinpoint and focus and highlight certain behaviors that are problematic. And how we can educate people on replacement behaviors instead of just throwing out just certain terms and phobias. But I do want to get to the point where we talk about how do we create safe places to find humor in our hurt to heal, because I think there is some anti-blackness that goes along with this Dave Chapelle thing, and I can see it in many different ways. I do think there is an aspect of that humor that says, is that a joke or is he serious? Is that really how he really is or not? And I think that Dave takes pleasure in that, that he has outsmarted you to a certain degree. Oh, that was a joke. Oh, that was a joke. Oh, but I'm serious about that. And he gets you. That's what comedians
do. That's what Republicans do. They do that all the time.
But I
was kidding.
But if you study, but listen, and I stand by this. If you study Yoruba, there is a Orisha called Eshu.
Yeah.
Eshu is a trickster.
Yes.
And comedians are tricksters. And that's why I stand by our art form, and I stand by comedy as an art form, not by necessarily individual comedians. Even though I do like Dave, but I like uncomfortable humor too. I like twisted humor. But what I'm saying is comedians aren't here for us to diagnose them. They're
Right.
to help us diagnose ourselves. Like, why the heck do you think that's funny? Why is R. Kelly peeing on someone in the Dave Chapelle show? Why is that funny? Why is Tyrone Biggums a drug addicted person? And when you know how many people's lives are ruined and devastated by drug addictions in the Black community, why is that funny? So it's like, how do we create these safe places, Divinity, for us to find humor in our hurt, to heal? Because at some point, I feel like that's how we get to that next level, to be able to laugh at the trans experience like you just now had me rolling with
When
those
you
three
don't
shows.
delegitimize the womanhood of the trans person that you're talking about, the womanhood or the manhood of the person whom you're speaking about. And that's where a lot of these jokes lie. They lie in the joke that they're not really women. They're not real. It's a joke. They're not really what they appear to be. They are something else. Um, which is extremely damaging. Um, Part of the issue, part of the reason that trans women try so hard to seek validation is because the society is constantly tearing us down, is constantly telling us that you're not woman enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. When in fact, so many trans women are more feminine than cis women. And that's a really big issue that people don't acknowledge or admit is the underlying basis of their transphobia. But a lot of cis women have begun calling other cis women out about that, about
Mhm.
their being jealous of trans women, because trans women, we're a magical species because we create ourselves. We build our own ideal bodies. We that's the thing. Like, we're a build a bitch, basically. Don't say that. Um, don't call somebody that.
Hey, man, see? Whoa, my. Oh, wow. You can't be sneaking up with me and stealing on me like that. Hold on. Okay. We got to have a part 3 when we talk about what you just. No, I'm serious. What you just now talked about, because we just got to talk about that. We got to talk about that. But anyways, man, you just had me lose my whole train of thought. You said that. We need to have a part 3 when we talk about what you just now said about people delegitimizing trans women. And
Yeah, that
I want to
that's
have, yeah,
actually a really
I don't
big
want to get
deal
into it
because
now because I know you're about to put together a TED talk. Um, but or a Thelma, my bad, a Thelma thought. Um,
hey,
but um, but I think the plan of action, what we came up with today, is aligning yourself with Black
that
LGBTQIA.
part.
And you know how I get down on Sea Talk. It's black first. You know what I'm saying? Black people with brown skin. And I'm like,
I'm rooting for everybody black. Period.
okay, Issa Rae.
Period.
Um, um, but I think that's where we start though. We
Mhm.
start by having these conversations. And I stand by the thought that people who don't want to have conversations with people in the trans community or the LGBTQIA community, the Black LGBTQIA community,
Mhm.
it don't matter if they see that special or not, or any comedy or jokes.
Right.
It's because they they don't like all black people. Let's just be let's keep
Mhm.
it a let's just keep it a kilo. There are
Right.
some black people that don't like all black people.
Mhm.
I am not one of those. I know I have fears. I know I feel uncomfortable around certain black people,
Mhm.
and I want to unpack that. I also think it's hecka funny
Mhm.
that I have certain fears around black people.
Mhm.
Like, hell yeah, there's all through my life. We can have an episode when we just talk about all the black people throughout my life
Mhm.
that I've been scared of. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? People in gangs, terrified.
Mhm.
Drug addicted people, disabled people. gay
But you know
people,
that fear,
you know.
that energy that Black people can muster within you is the reason why all of these words exist to limit Black people's language in terms of
Hmm.
the LGBT community. Because, like I said, it happens to me. Because what happens is these white LGBT people, and this is why I say the discrimination of being Black and being LGBT, it works both ways, and it's the same thing. Because when I'm talking to an LGBT person, GB, whatever that word is, when I'm talking to them, and they're using, new language that I've never heard before, and I'm trying to figure out or get to the bottom of what it is that they're talking about.
Hmm.
A white trans person is very quick to say, no, I'm not dealing with a transphobe. I'm not dealing with this. And shut me down because they A, don't recognize that I am trans. B, they just see a Black face contradicting something that they're saying and they're not comfortable with it. And
Hmm.
C, they know that if they sit, like, they know they can weaponize transphobia as a way to get out of an uncomfortable situation instead of using their language to come back and talk back. It happens a lot when you see like these videos. They pop up on my page all the time from conservative media. I don't know why. Facebook be trolling me, I swear to God. But
Yeah, it's an
basically,
algorithm. It's an
yeah,
algorithm.
yeah,
Hmm.
the conservative poll person or whoever it is will be like, will ask a question, and then like a liberal will stand up in the audience and give a compassionate, well, how about you stop being transphobic because you're just an asshole because trans people are people too, and blah, 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 blah. And they stand up and they regurgitate a lot of stuff that they've heard, not experienced, and don't have a follow up for. So a
Mm.
conservative will say something not particularly brilliant, but a combative. Like they'll bat it back to them. They have nothing else. Now you
Mm.
sit here, you
Mm.
look stupid. You're making their point look valid, and it's not because you should have the language to combat that. So now, oh well, that's just transphobia. That's just this. That's just that. Is it transphobia, or did he just ask you a question that you couldn't answer?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
why can't you articulate that? I just can't answer that question.
Yeah, there's so many conversations I want to have with you, Divinity, around that, and we're gonna get to it in part three. And I just really appreciate, you know what I'm saying, um, just the learning relationship that we
Yeah.
have. This is really dope, and I just think that I'm comfortable with my fears. I really
Okay.
am. I really am because you know
Okay.
what? I was thinking today. I was driving. I said, "You learn a lot more by asking a question than by making a statement."
Oh God, yeah.
That just came to me. I was leaving the gym and I was thinking about our conversation tonight. I was like, you learn a lot more by asking a question than making a statement.
Hmm.
I go throughout life trying to ask more questions than making more statements. And I think that's the plan of action. We're going to end on that.
All right.
Thank you. Hey, until next time, we're going to do part three. I appreciate you. Love you.
Talk to you later. Love you.